They show you the beaches, the golden sunsets, the kangaroos and crystal waters, the smiling tourists walking through Sydney Harbour, sipping coffee under blue skies. That's the Australia most of the world sees, a place that feels safe, wealthy, and effortlessly perfect. To the outside world, it's paradise, a country that seems to have figured it all out. But behind those perfect travel ads and glossy Instagram pictures lies another side, a side tourists rarely notice and locals rarely talk about. Because behind the sunshine, there's struggle. Behind the laid-back lifestyle, there's pressure. And beneath every postcard image of paradise, there's a quiet, exhausting reality that doesn't fit the brochure. Australia sells the dream, the idea that anyone can come here, work hard, and live a peaceful life by the ocean. It's a story the world has bought for decades. But if you ask those who actually live here, many will tell you that the dream is starting to fade. The rent is too high, the bills never stop, and the promise of a comfortable life feels like it's drifting further out to sea. The cities that millions of tourists fall in love with, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, are some of the most expensive in the world. People come here expecting opportunity, but they often find a system that demands more and gives less. Tourists see the sun, locals feel the burn. And while Australia may still look like paradise on the outside, the truth is that for many people who call it home, it's becoming harder and harder to survive in it. A one-bedroom apartment in Sydney now costs more than what many people earn in an entire week. Groceries that once seemed cheap are climbing faster than wages. Even a casual meal out, something simple like a burger or a coffee, can feel like a luxury. For most locals, the cost of simply existing has become overwhelming. It's not uncommon to hear stories of 2 or 3 adults sharing small apartments, or families cutting back on basic necessities just to make rent. Australia's economy may look strong on paper, but for the average person, it feels like everything is slipping away. The gap between income and expenses grows wider each month, and for new migrants, it's often a harsh wake-up call. Many arrive believing they're stepping into a better life, only to find themselves working long hours, sometimes multiple jobs, just to break even. The same system that promises equality and opportunity often leaves people chasing their own tails. And yet, none of this shows up in the photos. Tourists visit for a few weeks and see paradise. The weather, the food, the friendliness. They leave with sunburns and good memories, but locals are left with rent receipts, bills, and a sense that the dream is turning into a trap. Even those who've lived here for decades feel the change. The Australia they grew up in, affordable, relaxed, and full of opportunity, feels like it's disappearing under the weight of inflation and modern life. The cost of paradise is higher than ever, and the ones paying for it aren't the tourists. It's the people who call this place home. Travel a few hours away from the city skylines, and you'll find another side of Australia entirely, one that rarely makes it into travel videos or tourism ads. The noise fades, the lights disappear, and what's left is an Australia that's quieter, older, and tougher. In many small towns, main streets are lined with shuttered shops. The cafes and family-owned stores that once kept local communities alive have been replaced by silence. Some towns are shrinking so fast that schools and hospitals have been forced to close. The opportunities that once drew people out here have dried up, leaving behind empty streets and fading signs that tell stories of better days. But despite the struggle, these towns hold something raw and real, a glimpse into the heart of the country. The people who remain are some of the most resilient you'll ever meet. They wake up early, work long hours, and find ways to keep going even when the system forgets them. Tourists flying into Sydney or Melbourne will never see this version of Australia. It's not glamorous, it's not marketable, but it's the backbone of the nation. Farmers, mechanics, teachers, small business owners, people who build the country's wealth but rarely share in it. The distance between Australia's cities and its countryside isn't just physical, it's economic, cultural, and emotional. The glittering skyline and the silent outback live in the same country. But sometimes, it feels like 2 completely different worlds. Australia has always been known for equality, the idea that everyone deserves a fair go. But in recent years, that idea has started to fracture. The gap between comfort and survival is growing faster than most people realize. In the wealthy coastal suburbs, you'll find homes worth millions overlooking beaches that tourists dream of visiting. Cafes filled with people drinking $7 coffees. Streets where the only noise is the sound of Teslas gliding past. But drive just 20 minutes inland, and the scene changes completely. You'll find overcrowded rental apartments, rising homelessness, and families struggling to make ends meet in a country that's supposed to be one of the richest in the world. It's 2 Australias existing side by side, one polished and one forgotten. The divide isn't always visible, but it's felt in conversations, opportunities, and the stress people carry in silence. The cost of housing has pushed generations apart, with young people locked out of the property market entirely. Some are forced to live with parents into their 30s or 40s, not out of choice, but because there's simply no other option. Others are moving to regional towns in search of affordability, trading opportunity for survival. The so-called lucky country still exists, but luck now feels like a privilege. For every person living the dream, there are dozens quietly trying to keep up, wondering when the gap became so wide. Australia's divide isn't measured only in dollars. It's measured in the distance between the promise of equality and the reality people live every day. On the surface, life in Australia looks calm. You'll see smiling faces, beach joggers, families enjoying the sun, the image of balance and happiness. But beneath that calm, there's an emotional cost that doesn't make it into the picture. People are exhausted. They're working longer hours, skipping breaks, and pushing through burnout just to afford the basics. The same people who once dreamed of slow mornings and relaxed weekends now live by the clock, chasing shifts and calculating bills. And while the rest of the world still sees Australia as an easygoing paradise, the truth is that for many, the rhythm of life here has become a quiet grind. Mental health struggles have become a silent epidemic, one hidden behind polite smiles and sunny weather. It's not unusual to hear of people working 50 or 60 hours a week just to stay afloat. Some move to smaller cities hoping for relief, only to find that costs follow them everywhere. Others have simply stopped dreaming altogether. The emotional fatigue isn't loud, it doesn't scream for attention. It's a slow, quiet ache that builds over time, a sense of always being one bill away from losing control. For migrants, that weight can be even heavier. The pressure to prove yourself, to succeed, to send something back home, it can crush even the strongest spirit. And yet, few people talk about it openly. Because you'll find moments of quiet beauty too. A tradie taking his kids to the park after a long shift. A single mum laughing over a home-cooked meal with her friends. A farmer watching the sunset after another hard day. These aren't the images that go viral, but they're the ones that define the country's soul. Because while the system may be strained, the people still care. They still hope. They still show up. The world might see paradise, but what really keeps Australia alive isn't the beaches or the skyline. It's the resilience of ordinary people, holding everything together when the dream begins to crack. The next time you see a picture of Australia, the endless beaches, the coral reefs, the smiling tourists, remember this. That image is real, but it's not the whole story. There's another side, a side where ordinary people wake up every day to the quiet challenge of surviving in one of the most expensive countries on earth. A side where the sunshine hides long commutes, rising rents, and quiet exhaustion. A side where paradise has a price, and most of the world never sees the receipt. But within that hidden side lies something honest, something raw, the reminder that no place on earth is as perfect as it looks online. Every paradise has its cracks, and sometimes those cracks reveal the truth more clearly than the sunlight ever could. So when you scroll past those stunning Australian landscapes, remember, behind that beauty are millions of people just doing their best to make it work. They're the real Australia, not the postcards, not the travel ads, not the influencers. Just people, enduring, adapting, and surviving. Because paradise isn't perfect, and sometimes the most beautiful places hide the hardest truths. This is Global Encounter, exploring the world's hidden realities.